All right, so we haven't done this one before. So we have a song by 9to5, and I've done a mix with the beat stem, but I don't have the stems until now. And so I'm going to be taking the stems to the beat and I'm going to mix them. And when this whole entire process is over, you're going to hear the difference between a mix that was processed with just the two mix and a mix that was processed with mixing the stems. I want to show you guys a functional difference between having all the tracks and being able to, on a micro level, make the adjustments instead of having a macro adjustment on the beat stem itself, or just the two mix or the instrumental of the beat. This video is going to compromise at least 4 different parts, so bear with me as I create the next 3 video segments for this and give you guys an insight of this mix. All right, let's watch. Okay, so I'm going to start by removing the instrumental stem. Okay, then I'm going to lower all of my faders by -4. So it lines up with the rest of the track. And then I'm going to go through each one, color code, and basically do all the basic stuff. So the first thing I want you guys to know is that I always do my first mix in my event opals. I do not touch my small audio cubes. The first mix goes to the event opals and I get it as close as I want to. I try to spend about 45 minutes, maybe an hour on this, and then I stop. That's the first mix. So I'm going to start by getting all my levels for the instrumental to turn up or down based on the kick. The kick needs to peak, not RMS. Peak at a -12 for me. This is how I keep all of my levels balanced, and I keep my kick from overloading the peak meter, because I only allow my kick to peak at -12, and I work to get that RMS up as much as possible. So yeah, 2 dB boost, keep everything else set. And so if anything sounds too loud or too quiet, then I start turning stuff down. Now, since I've already mixed the vocals to the instrumental stem, in order to save me a lot of time, energy, and not going back to the processing and turning up the vocals on the input stage, I'm just going to raise up the vocals on the master bus to meet the instrumental blend. And then I'm going to assert where it should be by putting this entire mix in mono. And for all my mono comparisons, I'm also going to put it mono in the software so you can hear what's going on. And so my biggest method of knowing how to place things, where to place things, is I'm going to turn it up until I go past the limit. I go past the threshold. In other words, when the vocals are too loud. When the vocals get too loud, immediately I bring it back down. It sits perfectly. If I'm still confused, I get it really low until I can tell, okay, it's definitely can't be here. So in other words, I am going to make a jurisdiction. Where's my range? What's too loud? What is too quiet? So basically it feels about right there. Notice I was moving the fader up and down, up and down. I'm narrowing my range until they average out. This is going to be the method of literally 99% of my mixing. So pay attention whenever I do that. So I do have naming conventions, and I do name the track how I like to appropriate the track, because it helps me zone in when I'm moving quickly where everything is. I don't have to try to figure out things inside of here. So I'm going to move all my drums accordingly. And if I ever need to know the file name, it's already built inside of the clip. So that way I don't have to figure out where everything is. I'm actually going to rename these like this. This is hat R, hat low end, hat multiple. And I'll just name this extra hat and hi-hat. And move these around. So boom, boom. 808. Let's see. Snap strings. Assign its color. Snap. Basses go first. Bring the strings down. Got the sample. All this goes first. All my drums go first. No matter what. There's no such thing. Drums go first. Drums, then percussion. And yes, I do have an order. Kick, snare, hi-hat. That's what it is for me. And if it sounds like a snare, that also goes first. So click these, bring these up here. Those are the verses, snaps. Yeah, they're not as important. And then my hat groups, and then open the hat. That hi-hat comes first. All right. So that's all the tracks color coded and set. Oh, percussion. Bring that in. Bam. And we're done here. All right. Now we got to assign the subgroups. So all my drums, all the reds go to the kit. Let's go to the perk bus. Let's go to the strings. In this template, I don't have the strings, so I got to make it. Since strings is not always something that gets put in a mix, you know, goes right there. And then a sample, I have a music bus for any type of just musical additions. That's already a blend to mix, that sort of thing. So now we have all the subgroups. Now my kit automatically goes to a kit group. So my drums automatically go to a kit. My kit goes to my kit group, which has a turned off parallel to the kit fat, which goes to the drum bus, and drum bus automatically activates this Cushion Omega twerk.
Petty ass rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the cheap, I'm high, babe. I'm in a good mood, happy, not killing this mood. Petty ass rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Jump on my ass, I can't slow. Minutes get my mood. Petty ass rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the cheap, I'm high, baby. I'm in a good mood, happy, not killing this mood. Petty ass rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me in.
Twerk. That's what I always call it, a mega twerk. How that mega twerk just immediately gives it that fullness for the whole entire drum stem. So I'm done with that. I'm gonna activate this limiter right here.
Petty ass rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the cheap.
I'm doing this to hear what is going to collapse in this limiter. I don't keep it here, but I do want to know what is causing an issue when it comes to the balance of this mix. And this is one of the ways that I do it. So basically the kick breaks down, which isn't bad for this track, because right now the kick is possibly the loudest element of this mix, but it's taking about 16 dB to get that distortion to happen. So I'm going to put this back up to where there's only about 1 dB of gain reduction, because besides the kick, nothing's really falling out.
Petty ass rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the cheap, I'm high, baby. I'm in a good mood, happy, not killing this mood.
Now use that limiter right there in order to reduce the amount of headroom that I have. So I'll start hearing negative effects of constantly boosting everything when this limiter is engaged like this. So I can't just boost stuff and think everything sounds better, because my limiter is going to refuse everything to just sound better. Is that the sample is way too quiet. Every time I want to listen to this music, I'm hearing a sample. The other thing is that my sound ID calibration is not turned on. Let me go ahead and activate that. All right, so two things. One, the music not loud enough. Two, that snare sounds like paper. So I want to change that somewhat. And these basses are not going to a bus. So first, the music. It's not loud enough.
Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the Jeep, I'm high, babe.
Of course, I have no idea what this sounds like in the side channels, but really, frankly, I don't care. So I'm going to set that at 90 dB. I always keep these at whole numbers, easy to recall and remember. And then I hear some low-end information that it doesn't really need. As long as the kick and the bass is playing right there, I don't want it in here.
Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the Jeep, I'm high, babe.
And right now it sounds like the sample is under the kick, so I'm gonna raise some mid, which is gonna bring it forward and kind of hitting my nasal region of my forehead area, because that's what mids do. It kind of resonates in that chamber if you have too much of it, and one reason why it partially annoys us and hurts us.
Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the Jeep, I'm high, babe. I'm in a good mood, happy's not killing this mood. Petty eyes rolling my way.
Magic numbers, that 650 range area. So that means we're gonna break out the mod. Guess what? Right here, 650.
Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe.
The band is too wide. I'm not hearing that resonance that I want to hear in my nasal area from it resonating too much. That's how I can tell that the band is too wide. It sounds like that the sides are getting more information than the mid channel. Even though this is in mono, you can still hear the offset between your left and your right speaker depending on how they're placed and how it resonates in the room. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to use the Magi Q2 because the Q values seem to be a lot tighter in here. And I'm going to place this at the 1K on the tight Q range.
Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the...
I'm going to start right there. Even though that's not on 650, the band is big enough and the Q is sharp enough. It's giving me some of that presence in there.
Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm on the Jeep, I'm high, babe. I'm in a good mood, happy's not killing this mood. Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, babe. Put me on my mood, happy, I'm feeling in tune. Tumble my ass, I can't slow. Minutes get minus, delivers, I breathe on receivers to sinus. Trying to succeed, thanking God for the guidance was blinded by starter. Only to see it was gassed out of nothing. When asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption, but mad how the
So the idea is that when I turn this up, I should not have to hear a volume difference. So I'm going to attenuate the signal so that they kind of match. If I hear any slight difference when I bypass, I'm going to adjust accordingly.
Minutes get minus, delivers, I breathe on receivers to sinus. Trying to succeed, thanking God for the guidance was blinded by starter. Only to see it was gassed out of nothing. When asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption, but mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try, we go right back. Throw them bows if we beef, how you don't get clapped. No, you know in the streets if you don't adapt, you on your own talking sweetly, be looking chap. On my lonely from shit done behind my back. Long ago I want peace, all I'm gonna track. So much soul live for me, watch I don't look back. You on your own. I tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they form.
Because really, I should just hear a change of the frequency difference. Like, where's the energy of the frequency happening more? And so at that 1K, it sounds better. But now it sounds like it's a little bit too sharp because I told you about that resonance. So we're going to put a small compressor on here. And my go-to compressor, if I just need to do any basic compressing, I always go to the SSL channel strip. Short and easy. Fast attack because it's a resonance. Resonances are usually fast.
Minutes get minus, delivers, I breathe on receivers to sinus. Trying to succeed, thanking God for the guidance was blinded by starter. Only to see it was gassed out of nothing. When asked out, I'm
See, now it doesn't really bother me as much. I'm doing my default is 0 dB on the threshold. So it's like the threshold is at its nominal area. And I start with 4 dB because at least there I hear it in compression, but I'm not overdoing it. And 0.5 seconds, which equates to, I guess, 50 milliseconds. I'm pretty sure that is.
Minutes get minus, delivers, I breathe, don't receive us a sinus. Trying to succeed, thanking God for the guidance, was blinded by startup. Only to see it was gassed out of nothing. When asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption. But mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try, we go right back. Throw them balls if you beef, how you don't get clapped. No, you know in the streets, if you don't adapt, you on your own, talking sweetly, be looking chap. On my lonely from shit done behind my back. Long ago, I want peace, all I'm gonna track. So much so live for me, watch I don't look back. You on your own. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having.
I just didn't want the top of that, the transients of it to cave in too much. So I let some of the transients come back in by mainly lowering the ratio so they don't get crushed as much. And that's about it for that.
Minutes get minus, delivers, I breathe, don't receive us a sinus. Trying to succeed, thanking God for the guidance, was blinded by startup. Only to see it was gassed out of nothing. When asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption. But mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try, we go right back. Throw them balls if you beef, how you don't get clapped. No, you know in the streets, if you don't adapt, you on your looking chat. On my lonely from shit done behind my back. Long ago, I want peace, all I'm gonna track. So much so live for me, watch I don't look back. You on your tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring nothing. When asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption.
I'm actually going to go ahead and let the kick stomp on that. And anytime I want to do this stomp, Personas has this nice compressor called a tricomp. And so I'm going to side chain it to this. Just like that. And I'm going to have it impact the high frequencies. I'm going to do a fast attack, and we just start there. You notice that when I do this, I'm not putting in a bunch of settings. You don't need to do that. Just tinker with it to attack what you want and let it be.
Nothing when asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption. But mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try, we go right back. Throw them balls if you beef, how you don't get clapped. No, you know in the streets, if you don't adapt, you on your own, talking sweetly, be looking chap. On my lonely from shit done behind my back. Long ago, I want peace, all I'm gonna track. So much so live for me, watch I don't look back. You on your tried to be humble, nothing when asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption. But mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try, we go right back. Throw them balls if you beef, how you don't get clapped. No, you know in the streets, if you don't adapt, you on your own, talking sweetly, be looking chap. On my lonely from shit done behind my back. Long ago, I want peace, all I'm gonna track.
So now that's done. Just keep listening.
Nothing when asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption. But mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try, we go right back. Throw them balls if you beef, how you don't get clapped. No, you know in the streets, if you don't adapt, you on your own, talking sweetly, be looking chap. On my lonely from shit done behind my back. Long ago, I want peace, all I'm gonna track. So much so live for me, watch I don't look back. You on your tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite.
Funny thing about it, I did not hear that in the original beat. And that's problem number one that I have with a lot of hard-hitting trap style beats and just hard beats in general is that lowering the music so low.
Nothing when asked out, I'm verbally agile, it's rough, and it's sad how the problems get bled off assumption. But mad how the police shoot man down. My people can't go like that. Oh no, the police try.
You see this? Look at these pebbles on here. Don't even know it's there.
Me watch I don't look back. You on your tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'm a
See, it doesn't even need to be there that loud, but we at least want to know that it's there. I'm gonna copy over the plate, give it that space.
Me watch I don't look back. You on your tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'm a go Kwame Aaron.
Yeah, I'm doing this because there's really no reason for this low end to be here.
Me watch I don't look back. You on your tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'm a go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm a talented. Got them daring each other to challenge it out. Yeah, I can't fuck with y'all, gotta stay abstinent. Ain't no trust involved in the companionship. With my wife getting right for the parent shit. Taking flight with my fam like I planned the trip out. You assume by my life you ain't canceling. What I got going on, y'all so can't.
Turn down the stick because it's to me a little louder than the kick.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average.
That's not even a snare, that's a clap.
Young, tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in.
And there's not enough odd harmonic. It sounds like a really, really, really warm clap. Like the brightness is not edgy enough, not harsh enough. So we're going to invert the frequencies on this. I'm gonna take the lows and put them in the upper mids. And I do that with the saturator. Crank up the third harmonics, and then we're just gonna crank the drive until we hear that movement happen.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm more talented. Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of.
So that shape, if I understand correctly with my ears, that affects mids more than sides. If you crank it up to 50%, this way it affects the sides more than it does the mids. At least that's how my ears hear it anyway. And this is how many, the tonality of the harmonics. Is it going to produce more even harmonics or odd harmonics, basically? Second order and third order harmonics. Which one is going to be more prevalent? And then this is the depth. How loud will they be? Now, the drive is going to generate and help generate the extra harmonics after that. So the drive to me is what creates the edginess. That's how I usually like to imagine it. The depth, once I create this edginess, the depth can turn that edginess up or down as if it was a volume slider.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm more talented. Got them daring each other to challenge it out. Yeah, I can't fuck with me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my.
Okay, still getting some of that warmth inside of there.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in.
And let's go ahead and just get rid of that.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm more talented. Got them daring each other to challenge.
And so what I'm doing is looking for the area that's going to give me the transient information to make this edgy sound. And we're getting it around 6.4K. You can hear those harmonics starting to pop out a lot more and creating a difference in balance, tonal balance. So instead of the sound sounding like this,
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet.
listen to how it changes if I move this over here.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my.
It's because this is a corner frequency, and that's mainly what's happening.
Me watch, I don't look back, young. Tried to be humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they form.
Okay, my camera was not rolling when I was finishing this, so for the clap real quick, we were doing this.
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm more talented. Got them daring each other to challenge.
Added some 7K boost after saturating it.
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already.
I like the Lindell before. Get the frequency in, then saturate it. Keep some of the transients better. And then we added a transient shaper at the very end.
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit.
You hear the difference?
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it.
Way more present after taking out some of the lows. Literally only boosting up to 7K until we can get some of those transients to pop out. Because it was at 7K when the tonality of the clap was changing. Saturating it, give it some more upper harmonics. And now, since it's being biased by the 7K, that's what's becoming more important to the saturator. And then the transient shaper to add that little bit of oomph at the end. Over here on the strings, I needed to invert the sound because the strings were very thin. So I cranked the boost until we got to here. This that sound. Anytime something is too scooped and it's scooped all the way to the low end, something like this takes all those frequencies and puts it back on top. So now you can hear the tail and the depth and the reverb because we got that back in here. And now I just put the plate in the space that I originally had for my vocals over here. And then I rolled off 50 hertz. This attenuation helps when, always test the attenuation, because if you don't, you may not know what you need to clean up. See how that's getting back thin? Let's go back. So at that point is when you'll find a way, if you put too much 100 in low mid, it's going to start sounding like it's getting on top of your speakers because there's a lot of low mid energy. Take that attenuation to place your sound directly in your center line of your speakers, you know, right in the middle, in the pocket that you need. So you boost and get as much information that you need. And then you take the attenuation to delicately place it where you need in the spatial spectrum.
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm.
Because the vocals are too deep or they were too low competing with the music, I had to boost some of the high end. 2.5 got too much throat and lower mids that we didn't need. And I needed more air with a tad bit of mid. So I chose 5K.
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm more talented. Got them daring each other to challenge it out. Yeah, I can't fuck with y'all, gotta stay abstinent. Ain't no trust involved in the companionship. With my wife getting right for the parent shit. Taking flight with my fam like I.
Lands right there. And then I think that was it, because afterwards I said, you know, we're going to need a clariphonic to get the last bit of air, but you know, that's not going to be until the very, very end. So far, this is what we have.
Humble, ignore all the shade that was mumbled in form of a tweet. Judging my form, though my scoring's elite. Using they forms to scorn who I be, I ain't having it. Already mad, I'm a spaz, I ain't average. Violate, I'ma go Kwame Aaron shit out. No comparing, you know I'm more talented. Got them daring each other to challenge it out. Yeah, I can't fuck with y'all, gotta stay abstinent. Ain't no trust involved in the companionship. With my wife getting right for the parent shit. Taking flight with my fam like I planned the trip out. You assume by my life you ain't canceling. What I got going on, y'all so cancerous. How y'all plot on my downfall, she can't get my style. Blazing through the fire, I lost desire to let it go. Seem to turn out a riot, a bed to go. I bet to go outside of my head to grow. Instead I roll oregano, light a fire to let it roll. Pirates, I let them coast. The tide to my biggest credit moves. Not the waves I wave them by till they run dry, I let them go. So get on board with pictures to ride the tide to let liver flow. All this lame shit poison in my vibes, no bell, bill to catch me on the highway, I'm gonna cheap, I'm high, baby. So I'm in a good mood. That beat's not killing this mood. Petty eyes rolling my way, I'm Eddie's, ain't got time, baby. Put me on my mood. That beat, I'm feeling in tune. Catch me out on the highway, I'm gonna. I chose to leave from home just to find more shelter. Lord, let not my feet be wavered, and let my steps hold strength back.